well. example of activity going on the web today is the African Virtual University. It's been in existence roughly since 1997. It's funded largely via the World Bank. If I understand correctly, there are now 31 African Virtual University centers in 17 African countries. And in a few years, the plan is to move this to 150 centers. And of course, this would not be possible without the existence of the internet and the electronic connectivity which pervades the world today. I have a map of that, but the slides are not come through, so I can't show it to you. If we could move to the next slide, please. In a few minutes, you will be hearing from Anne Margulies, the executive director of the MIT Open Courseware Project, a very revolutionary and visionary idea. I think it was conceived originally by Charles Best, the president of MIT, who has directed that essentially all of the courses at MIT, some 2,000 courses, will sooner or later be on the World Wide Web for access by people all over the world. I think this sort of thing is a fantastic development and shows the power of what is possible. We can move to the next slide. This is a particular project that exists at the University of Illinois. It's called BugScope, and it takes web interactivity somehow to a new level. What this particular activity allows is for students, primarily in the United States, to operate a scanning electron microscope remotely from their classroom and to be able to do electron micrographs of insects. This program has been in existence for about 5 years now, and it has become enormously popular in the state of Illinois, but also in other places in the United States. And it, as I say, it sort of takes web interactivity to the next level because it allows students to interact not only with the instructors but also with the instruments themselves. Could we have the next slide, please? I can't resist showing you a couple of pictures taken by students operating the electron microscope remotely from the classroom. Could we have the next slide, please? Now, of course, education isn't simply about educating young people in kindergarten through 12th grade in the United States or even interacting with the universities. Scientists and researchers around the world want to educate each other and bring information to each other in a simple way. And the development of activities like the archive.org preprint server that was originally conceived by Paul Ginsparg in about 1990 has become an extremely important tool, certainly in physics, but also in mathematics, non-computer science, in computer science, and now quantum
fact, we have used distance learning for a long time, starting with we help people to continue their study through normal mail, again, sending letters, and later on we use both radio and television as a one-way communication to teach people who don't have access to school, mostly for the adult education, and it has been so effective. We have started this distance learning in all the education level. We have all the levels, including from primary level to graduate studies, especially now that universities have the policy to extend their education to the rural area. So there's a lot of virtual campuses, just like the previous presentation that talked about the African virtual university, and we also plan to do a lot of this in Thailand. I try to put some questions for how to make the distance learning effective. But I think the slide presentation have some kind of technical problem, so it doesn't matter because I'm quite familiar with all this kind of thing, and I rely mainly on myself. So I asked the question, so what factors make a distance learning initiative either formal or informal and make it successful? This is the question. In regard to this question, I think there are at least 4 factors that are involved. First, factors that are associated with the learners. I myself is a person who have the experience of using the distance learning myself since when I study at the university. I have to miss classes because I have to work with my parents in the rural area. And at that time, there's no computer, there's no videotape, so the university just kindly allow us to tape some lectures and send to me in the rural area twice a week. And I know that for the learning, we need to have self-discipline and good attitude towards self-learning, because distance learning can be very lonely. You stay alone without friends, and learners, but the good thing is learners can work in their own pace, and the difficult thing that we have no teacher to try to hit us when we go fast asleep in class. There's no virtual stick yet. Therefore, to be effective, one should have self-discipline and motivation to learn. So only when they feel that they will benefit from such undertakings. Second factor that associated with providers, those are contents and how the content are delivered to prospective learners. The most important thing is the content must be correct, must be useful and correct, because I have done a lot of spot check on the this kind of material and found out that there's a lot of problems. For example, in teaching math, sometimes in the CAI they put in the make a lot of mistake in computing, so or in language teaching, even the teacher themselves use the wrong grammar in English or French. They are teaching, and it is have to be very careful because this distance learning today is very powerful, and we reach a lot of people. So we have to be careful that we give the good thing to the public and to the learner. And with I don't know well. So it should be interesting also. We should put in interesting things that we must know our target population, what kind of thing they are interested in. But you have to be careful that if you put too much of the interesting, fanciful presentation, it will cause the third problem that we would like to have the second slide. Second slide. It is the third factor is the supporting infrastructure. If the line, the transmission line and the network and communication infrastructure is not in good quality, sometimes if you put too much fanciful presentation, it takes a lot of volume in computer, and so it takes a lot of time in loading, or sometimes it just hangs. So there won't be any result at the other end. And sometimes even when we try to load something and we go out, eat some biscuits and even cook the rice, come back, it hasn't come yet. So they have to, I think we should take the middle path. Well, it could be interesting, but it should not be so complicated that the infrastructure, the machine, the network cannot support it. This is the practical advice for countries that need distance learning. Communication medium tools should be made available, such as telephone, fax, etc. This will help the teaching to be two-way communications, so it can be more interesting if possible. And the last factor associated with management, especially those concerning financing of the distance learning program. They should try to find enough financial resources and also enough support, technical support. And the management is very important. There should be a manager of this program, should be someone who can connect people together. There are many people of many expertise that, so we should be, if you are a manager, you should be able to call in lots of people with many kind of expertise to have the concerted effort it is just like Mr. Eisenstein was saying, that we should stick together, and the person who can make everybody stick together can be a good manager in this distant learning of today, and it's consists of public-private partnership approach that many have states to put together the program to success. And the third slide, we would like to cite a case example, the distant learning foundation. We have the website, so you can check what I'm saying. It is the e-learning program, the distant learning, the country, but it is very difficult to have it all in the real form, with the real, to look at the real tree or even the herbarium. So the idea is to connect the existing herbarium together and then working with the same sort of database that the researcher can have access to them. And so we try to note down, write down the information about each plant species. And also in this project, do the real thing, they cannot do the work. So sometimes we make the teaching.
Thank you very much. Ines Princess of Pakistan. They also were famous also in Egypt in many important organizations and journals. Please.
Gentlemen, good morning. I gave a brief presentation yesterday at the plenary of what I'm talking about is what we've been doing in Pakistan to use information technology, and especially for educational purposes. But there are a few key aspects that we said we must concentrate on: infrastructure, human resources, the enabling environment, which includes legislation and so on, and then using IT for service to the citizen. And we said that the government would be an enabler and a facilitator, and it is really the private sector who is to play this game. We have to just create a level playing field and then step aside. It is not really the government. If you're going to go into, in a major way, especially in commerce, it has to be the private sector to play this game. And the strategy, as I said, is education, infrastructure, then you see legislation, and then ultimately using this for a variety of services, which includes electronic commerce, governance, education, and so on. Now, what have we done? And I became the Federal Minister for Science and Technology, including IT and Telecom, about 3 years ago in the previous government, and now in the new government also. I'm the Federal Minister for Science and Technology now. And what we said was that in order for this to work, we must have quality internet across the country, and we can then use it for various purposes. Now, in the last 2.5 years, we have created an outstandingly good infrastructure in Pakistan, as I'll show you, and we have started using it in a major way for education. We put the necessary laws in place, and so what I'll do is this is the map of Pakistan. This is what the situation. This is the fiber. The red are the fiber lines running right across the country, and the blue ones are the ones that are being presently formulated. We manufacture our own fiber, and these are high-speed internet lines. We have there were only 40 cities on fiber 2.5 years ago. today there are 400 towns, cities and villages, and it will go to 600 very soon. So very rapid spread of fiber connectivity across Pakistan. We had only 29 cities on internet in the year 2000, middle of year 2000, and today we have actually 1,600 towns, cities and villages which have internet, covering 97% of the population. And in fact, the UNCTAD report 2003 shows that we are well ahead of other countries in the region. The amount of bandwidth was only 32 megabit 3 years ago. It is now 600 megabit, and it's going up to 1.2 gigabit in the next couple of months. So very rapid increase in bandwidth. You have to have fat pipes if you want it to work. And so we are trying to fatten these pipes as fast as possible. 2 years ago, the bandwidth prices were $87,000 per month for a 2 megabit line. Unbelievably high. Today they are $3,800 per month, making us by far the cheapest for a 2 megabit line, making us by far the cheapest in that part of the world. And that's triggered a lot of investments in terms of call centers and other, and also for education now it's much more affordable. So really fantastic decreases in price, and we are pressing ahead to decrease them further. I'd like to have them brought down to about $2,000 per month. Internet usage has grown phenomenally from only 130,000 to more than 4 million now, and it's now reaching about 6 million now. And this is the UNCTAD report that I mentioned, that the ICT diffusion is the UN United Nations report, in which ICT diffusion and connectivity we've done pretty well. Yes, that's the same ICT diffusion. And there had been a cellular explosion. Mobile telephony has really exploded. It was pretty static, and the reason for when I inquired what the reason was, and I thought about it, every time you received a call, you had to pay for it. So that didn't make any sense. So we changed that, and we said it's the calling party we must pay. And the moment we brought that in, and we reduced the telephone rates by about 70%. We've had really a huge explosion from only 225,000. It's actually, the figure now is about 2.5 million. The spike is really, it continues to grow. We brought the rates of telecommunication down, and that has resulted, if you look at the bottom line, a jumping of the profits of Pakistan Telecommunication Limited from 13 to 19 and now to about 25 billion rupees, in spite of the 70% reduction in the prices. We decided to put a satellite in space, which can be used for largely for education, and this is now fully operational. It has 34 transponders, KU and C-band transponders, and we are starting up 4 new television channels. 2 of them will start next month, and the remaining 2 subsequently during the course of the subsequent months. 4 television channels exclusively for education, and that is going to make a major difference. We also have education through the cable network. We have set up a very exciting Pakistan Educational Research Network, and I will be talking about that during the course of my talk. We established a virtual university, and that's now in over 60 towns, cities and villages, 60 major towns and cities. And but we developed a hybrid model, not totally distance learning. We set up 160 tutoring centers in these 60 cities, so that students had the opportunity to go physically and also to talk to teachers and have an interactive session. So it's a combination of distance learning plus actual physical interactivity. And in order to make it affordable, I went down and talked to Stanford, to Illinois, Urbana-Champaign people, to MIT people, but the cost of acquiring contents would have meant a very high fee structure. And I wanted the access to the common man, to the children of relatively poorer people. And so what we decided was to develop our own contents, and so the entire virtual university programs are indigenously developed. We have hired the best quality teachers across the country, and the fee now is only about $23 per month. And that includes the fee that we pay to the tutoring centers across the country. So this is what a child pays, a person pays. And we have 4 years bachelor's programs. This is running now for 1.5 years. And we have now bachelor's in computer sciences, and we have started programs also now in liberal arts. The virtual university has nodes across the country, and we are expanding it very, very rapidly. In fact, the rector of the virtual university happens to be in Geneva now, attending this conference. If I want to mention that, okay, let me go back to that. Yes, in order to incentivize, and I mentioned that yesterday, if you want good science, if you want good education, you have to be willing to pay. And so we have to move out from the normal government mentality. And we say we have to pay. So we developed a system whereby we reward researchers. They can get 5 times their normal salary based on certain yardsticks that we use. We use the impact factors in science journals, which are published by the Institute of Scientific Information in Philadelphia every year, and also the Science Citation Index. On the basis of that, every single scientist and engineer in Pakistan is rated. These include the researchers. These ratings are published in the form of books. There have been 2 books which have come out in the last 2 years. The third is now coming out next month. So everybody knows where he stands. And so a young man who's publishing in top journals can have salaries, actually take-home money, which is much higher than a senior professor who's meditating. So this is a rather revolutionary concept which we have introduced in Pakistan. And the result, ladies and gentlemen, is that publications in international journals have shot up because we have directly linked salaries to performance, not just to seniority. We have introduced a tenure track system in all the universities. This system is just very new. It's coming up. We have a lot of money allocated for this, and under this, faculty members and researchers are hired on contracts. First review after 3 years, second review after 6 years. If the review is positive, they get confirmed. The salaries have been increased by 100% under this system. And if the review is negative, then you're out of the job. And of course, there are other benefits like 50% reduction in income tax. Faculty development has been a key area in Pakistan. A large number of people, young faculty members being sent abroad to PhD. We are now talking about sending 100 to Geneva, to Switzerland, during the course of the next year. We have recently sent 50 to Germany and people to Austria and to other countries. And so a massive effort to send faculty abroad for PhD level training. And also a reverse brain drain project, getting back the best Pakistanis who have settled in Europe or USA to come back to Pakistan and serve. Because there can be no better investment for a country than investing in its own brightest people. And under this reverse brain drain program, we are aggressively advertising in international journals. We plan to get 1,500 PhD faculty members back to Pakistan in the next 5 years. 300 this year, 150 have already applied, and more are applying. The salaries we are offering are about $3,500 per month plus research grants. And but let me talk a little bit about the Pakistan Educational Research Network. It puts my adrenaline up every time I talk about this. What we've done is we have linked all the universities with fiber. So Pakistan has universities, out of the 60 odd universities, 40 are already linked up with fiber. The remaining will be linked up within the next 2 months. What does that mean? It means that a lecture given 2,000 miles away can be listened to in another part of the country. So we can share faculty. Like many developing countries, we have shortage of faculty. So we can share our best teachers so that we can have a pool system, and we plan to start this system in the next 2.5 months. We have also now got a digital library which is coming into place, and by January, which is just a few weeks away, we will have this in place. What does that mean? This means that we will have 5,000 full-text online journals available free of charge to all educational institutions in Pakistan and all research institutions in Pakistan. 5,000 full-text. Free of charge in the sense that the Higher Education Commission and my ministry will pay whatever the charges are, but a teacher or a student sitting at home will be able to access the latest journals as well as backward news. Plus, on top of that, there will be another 20,000 journals which will be made available. The abstracts of which will be made available. And these 5,000 journals, we are increasing the number to 11,500 journals. And Carol Priestley from INAS, who very kindly helped us in negotiating the prices, in fact, in the conference here at Geneva. Very grateful for her work. So I believe we are the first country in the world to do this, to have an entire education network connecting up all the universities with fiber, so we can share faculty, have a satellite dedicated to education specifically, and have a digital library, nationwide digital library in place, where any educational or research institution, not just under the Ministry of Science and Technology, but agriculture or health or any other ministry can also use that facility. These are a list of some of the journals, a whole range on while other major publishers, EBSCO and so on, that facility. So a whole range of journals that are now being offered under this. On top of that, we use the MIT OpenCourseware, which was referred to in the first talk this morning. What we've done is we have downloaded the entire MIT OpenCourseware on CDs. We have made 500 copies of these CDs and sent them to all the departments in all the universities in Pakistan. And they are now using these MIT OpenCourseware because going into it and downloading everywhere was difficult, so we just downloaded it on our CDs and distributed that. And that's something that we'd like to see expanded, that program, so that other universities start similar projects. We also use the University of California and television. These programs are excellent lectures available, which can be accessed to, and these are given by some of the best authorities in different fields of science and engineering, economics, and they are being used extensively in Pakistan, as well as other distance learning materials. So what we'd like to do, and this is what I've been saying, is what I said yesterday, that if you want to develop a K economy, we have to realize that this can only be done through education. And so the key to progress in this day and age is education. And as I said yesterday, President Pervez Musharraf, when he was appointing me, I asked him, are you serious about science? And his answer was yes. And that ultimately resulted in a 6,000% increase to the budget for science and technology. And now the same thing is happening for education. There has been a 6-fold increase in the budget for education in the last 8 to 10 months. So for the first time, money is not a bottleneck. I'm also responsible for an organization called COMSTEC. This is a committee of the 57 ministers of science and technology in the Islamic countries. And under that, we have a program under which we provide a free literature search service to anybody in these 57 countries. They can send their keywords to us within 48 hours. We do a complete literature search in all the various databases that we have in-house. This is an offline search for intellectual property right, IPR reasons, and we provide the material free of charge within 48 hours to the requesting person. On average, we transfer between 5,000 to 10,000 pages of data every day, so it's an intensively used service. We have also linked up libraries in about 20 countries. There are about 30,000 journals now which are available in the library, so we share resources within the library. So if you need a copy of an article, you can go into the web, see which journals are where, and then request the participating library for a free copy of the article that's sent to you. These are many of the countries which have already joined this network service. Some 28,000 journals are available, and you can see which journals are where through this website. This is the COMSTEC website, www.comstec.org. I'd like to end by saying I have a few recommendations which I just noted down, but I'd like to conclude. Firstly, as I said yesterday, I'd like to see the MIT OpenCourseware experiment expanded. Other universities should do the same. So there's more and more material, content material, and that would be very helpful. I also had suggested yesterday, and I'd like to repeat that we should have formation of open and free subject networks, a worldwide physics network, a chemistry network, a maths network, supported by international organizations, which would have contents and which would then allow the sharing of knowledge across the world through these subject networks. And these could be at different levels. Thirdly, I'd like to see the encouragement of publication of cheaper online books and journals. I'm myself the editor presently of 5 European science journals, and the 2 new journals that I'll start starting from next month are both exclusively online. A series of books that I'm starting for Frontiers in Medicinal Chemistry will also be exclusively online, which means that they'll be at about 1/10 of the cost of normal journals, and so they will become much more affordable. And I would also like to see an open, worldwide open lectures program, so that contents for virtual universities and other such initiatives, we'd like to have more and more volunteers across the world who are willing to record lectures in different, in their disciplines, which can then be used for the virtual university program across the world. This would be great, and if you can have top people from all over the world ready to volunteer to record subject lectures, then this would be fantastic. And as I said yesterday, we need to come forward with a system to make journals cheaper and more accessible. INASP, as I said, is doing a wonderful job, but we need to find a mechanism, because the publishers are there to make money. They will not just offer journals free of charge for obvious reasons. But however, they don't make very much money from the developing world. And if you can have a guaranteed payment to them for whatever money they are presently making through national or international contributions, and then provide free access to the developing world, that I think is very useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, science.
Thank you very much. Well, because of the time constraint, I'm not going to take a PowerPoint. I'll just spend a few minutes just highlighting just one very important thing, modality, where ICT really facilitates partnerships among the developing countries in higher education, in postgraduate education. South-South cooperation, what we call South-South cooperation in postgraduate education, is extremely important for the majority of our countries, especially those that have the resources to send their students abroad to the United States and Europe. And there are, of course, other benefits for cooperation among developing countries in postgraduate education. Most important among them, of course, is the expenditure involved. It costs, according to our estimate, at most 1/3 of the cost of education in industrialized countries. To quantify this, we estimate if you have a student pursuing PhD training, for example, in India or in Brazil or in China, the maximum amount that is spent over a period of 3 years is about $25,000. So there is, of course, this benefit that it costs less. Secondly, of course, it reduces the brain drain. So talented students, if they go and do their education in countries in the South, it's very likely that they will go back home. But if they do the same thing in the United States or Europe, and if they're really talented, most of them don't go back. And we have examples of students from China, from various countries, who go to the US, and quite a number of people don't return. And the third important aspect of postgraduate education in the developing countries is that the students or the researchers get used to doing research in their own environment. And that's very important. And normally, of course, this environment is not as beautiful or as easy as it is in the north. So you really have to learn how to do research in a harsh environment. And that's, of course, also a benefit. And so this is really the whole philosophy of why our academy, the World Academy of Sciences, for a number of years has started to encourage And the first thing we did was, first of all, to identify the most accomplished institutions, the most competent institutions, research institutions, institutions for education in the developing countries. And that has been a long-term program or project of us. So we started to identify competent research and training institutions. And we do, in fact, now have a book that contains profiles of some of the most important institutions in developing countries. We published 3 editions. The last edition that we published just appeared last October. It was released in China at the occasion of the 20th anniversary celebration of the World Cardinal Sciences. This volume contains 525 institutions from nearly 60 countries in the developing world, carefully selected through a peer review system. And for example, in Thailand, we have in this book the Asian Institute of Technology and Chulalongkorn Research Institute, listed here. So here we list the profiles of the institutions, the research lines, and the opportunities for students to go and do their studies there. Now, what is really important now for us is to put this online, because we would really like it to be available to students and researchers in the majority of developing countries and to look at it. So we are now trying to put this on the internet, and that is, I think, is quite important. What is really important is that the institutions themselves, as I listed here, and each one of them should have its own website. And quite a number of them do in fact have their own websites. But now we have a project that will help many of these institutions to develop their own websites so that you can have more details about the particular institution if you visit the website there. So this is a project that we are currently embarking on. So this is, of course, is important because the students in the South need to know what are the best institutions that are available. This is, of course, the basis of everything. And the second is how to persuade the countries in the South to support students coming from abroad, from other countries in the South. This is in the form of offering fellowships. And again, we are quite fortunate that at our meeting in China, just in October, we received offers from some of the major countries, China, India, Brazil, and Mexico, announced last October that each one of them will provide 50 fellowships per year for students coming from other developing countries. Now, this is not a very large sum, 200 fellowships compared to the numbers that Professor Rahman mentioned earlier, but it is a beginning. And come to think of it, I mean, 200 fellowships per year, and this will be offered by these countries. All the expenses will be paid by them, not by us. This will cost the developing countries, if we do 200 per year, it will cost something like $5 million per year. So, and we do that every year, of course. But this is the beginning. I mean, we hope that many countries will join this, and in a few years we have something like 500, 600 fellowships to offer for postgraduate education.
So I think the important point to mention the important point to mention here is how ICT can actually facilitate all that.
And I think we should really depend on websites, on developing a real possibility for the developing countries not to wait for applications to come by post, but to try and fill in the forms, get more information about institutions using the internet. So I think it is very important to realize the power of the internet in facilitating all that. And of course, one thing that we are very much concerned of is to ensure that a good number of these fellowships that are offered really go for students from the least developed countries. These are the countries that are in very bad need of this type of program and this type of postgraduate training. And of course, we also want to make sure that the number of the fellowships offered are in the field of ICT, computer science, and information technology. So, I mean, in conclusion, I don't want to take a long time. In conclusion, I just wanted to highlight that new opportunities offered by ICT greatly facilitate this type of South-South partnership in scientific research and education. And research and training centers of excellence in developing countries should be provided with adequate ICT infrastructure, internet connectivity, and websites. To facilitate online dissemination of information about their activities and attract talented students from other developing countries. But at the same time, I think universities and research institutions in the developing countries, especially those in the LDCs, should also be provided with access to information online. So they must also have the possibility of getting connected. If they are not connected, then they won't have the possibility of finding out information about the centers in other places where they can go and study. So this is also an aspect that is extremely important, because if you're sitting, for example, somewhere in Mali or in Sudan, and you cannot connect to the internet, you may not have the possibility of finding out what's happening in the other countries. So that again is important. What we are now planning to do is to develop a comprehensive website where we can publicize all these postgraduate training programs that are offered by the countries I just mentioned, Brazil, China, India, Mexico, and also other countries. And with that, I think I will just stop here, and perhaps later on we can have some discussion about this and other programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Hassan. This is very good speaker, and you helped me keep the time. So I think it's for a coffee break. Can I ask you back here about
Are you connected to wireless?
Yeah.
Why doesn't mine work?
I don't know. I think you have to register for it. When you go through it, if you got the thing, we'll see if we can register. And the gentleman, Ellis, Jonathan Allen, he'll get an email from you. He'll either set you up, or depending on whether they let people on. We were here the first.
But they said you can get. They wrote in the paper that you get connected.
Yeah, you can. So once if you have a laptop, turn it on.
I'll try it.
We'll go.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Oh, very good.
There are 93 universities in the US. Excuse me. We work together, and there are all kinds of projects in here. It's just physical. Sorry, my God. Mixed up in there. But I also work with the George Lucas Foundation, and we tell the stories of educators K-12 so they can get to this level. So maybe
Okay. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks.
I got to tell you, the connection sucks.
Huh?
The connection is lousy.
It's bad.
Oh, it's like, it's very weak. And I think it might be this room, but you may have a better connection. I have it internal. You have an internal?
Yeah, it's internal.
Yeah, the internal connections are not as strong as if you have a peripheral.
Oh.
So the connection's not the greatest, but let's go through it anyways. I mean, it's worth just having, just if you, occasionally you'll get it, it'll let you know when you have it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just put Are you sure you're on your?
Yeah, put it well.
Press that. You should. You may not get down, but we'll see. You just got to keep pressing until you get the.
I tried it earlier.
Yeah. So you got to wait. The system's got to be. It's got to be connected. You got to be sensing something. Like, do you have a wireless? If you bring the cursor down to one of these guys. There you go. You're on. You're on. Or it seems like on.
Where is connection unavailable?
Yeah, is the connection available? You got to wait for this connection to be available. It'll go on and off. See, I'm doing that all the time, just checking and see if it's on. And then sometimes it'll pop up and let me know. But this is a web page. Is this your home web page?
Yeah,
So you have, this is the risk system. So you're connected. You've actually connected. You've done everything you need to do to be registered. It's just very inconsistent. Press advanced. And so it's sort of a little negotiation. It's really so because we're lazy. It's on there. You shouldn't have a connection. You just got to keep looking at that. If it's going to say it's going to have a connection. And I got a connection now. You should have a connection now.
so it goes on and off.
It goes on and off, and you just sort of have to negotiate it. And eventually,
Where is connection unavailable? Where is it?
It'll say single is very light, and it depends how strong your internal is. So I don't know one's not that strong, but. Does it say any connection? But that's where you look and see if that's going. I mean, it shows you are receiving something. If you go to start and go to start and go to yeah. We need a new tape. I'm trying to run it out. We need a new tape, and here it is.